Hi, it's Tom from bknutrition.com, and today I want to talk about the 4 big reasons why people fail to implement or fail to be successful with their New Year's resolutions. Now, over the years, I've worked with numerous clients who've tried and failed to start diets or body transformations or anything positive in their life with regard to their health and fitness in January, and by February, generally those things have fallen by the wayside. Now, why is that? Because we start January with all this motivation and this drive that we're going to do this and we really want to do it. And then a couple of weeks' time, we're left wondering, well, what happened to there? Oh, why didn't I implement that? And we always have a little bit of a word with ourselves as to why we can't do that. Maybe beat ourselves up a little bit as to why we can't seem to change our life. And I see there's 4 big reasons that come into play here. So I'm going to run through in this video, and hopefully you'll learn why maybe you failed in the past and what you can do to change this year. It looks as though January the 4th is going to be on the Monday, or it looks as though it is going to be on the Monday. If you're watching this back, obviously, in any other time, you can implement these strategies for if you want to start a new habit or a new diet. Most of us start diets on Mondays or the first of the months. The first Monday in January is one of the biggest times, but these strategies can be implemented any time of the year if you're starting a new routine or habit. So there's 4 big reasons. The first one is that they don't have the systems to support the goals. Now, I talk about having a goal-driven approach and having a system-driven approach. Now, if you have a goal-driven approach, that is, you are looking only at the end sight, at the end goal, and you're working everything you can to get to that goal. Now, you might think that that is everything you're doing, because whenever we're trying to change something, well, so I want to lose weight, or I want to win the Olympics, or I want to run this race or whatever, that's the goal that you've got. However, most of us don't have this once in a lifetime goal that we're working towards. So when I used to do bodybuilding competitions, my goal was to win the bodybuilding show. So I would move mountains to achieve that goal, because it was something I wanted to achieve. It was a one-off event. It was a strategic goal that I wanted to get to, and it was measured, and I knew if I won the show, that would be the goal achieved. However, once that goal had been achieved, there wasn't anything after that. Okay, there was another show coming after that, but I would set myself for that goal and that goal only. And it was very intense, and I'd have to do a lot of stuff that maybe compromised my family and my social life and stuff like that to get to that goal. You generally find that goal-driven approaches are like that. You have to sacrifice certain things to get to it, because it's something that you really have to work hard to get there. A systems-driven approach, on the other hand, is changing your lifestyle, changing your habits and your approach to how you live life and training and your approach to others, etc., etc. So you're changing your systems. Now, the end goal might be to lose weight or to get more muscle or whatever else. But that's not the single event. You don't actually lose the weight and, oh, I've lost the weight, so now I'll eat loads of crap and gain weight again. That's not what happens when we set ourselves like a weight loss goal, which is generally what people do in January. We get to that weight loss goal. It's well, I want to keep going now. It's not I get to the weight loss goal. Oh, great, I've reached that goal. Now I'll put all the weight back on again. And you generally tend to want to keep that going too. So if the goal is a long-term thing that you want to achieve and keep achieving, that requires a systems approach, not a goal approach. Goal approach is, say, competition style event. Systems approach is lifestyle. And I generally tend to work with people in lifestyle. So they want to lose weight. They want to build more muscle. They like to develop better habits with their health and fitness, that sort of thing. My coaching program is geared towards a systems-based approach. Although the people that come on my coaching program want to lose weight and gain more muscle, this is a long-term thing for them. It's not, I want to gain and lose more muscle, also gain muscle and lose weight by this time and that's it. So we need to think about having the systems in place to make sure that habit change happens. Now, if you've read a book called Atomic Habits, which I'm a big fan of that book, it's by James Clear, one of the best books on habits. He talks about when you fall to the level of your systems. Now, what he means by that is if you've built up good systems for your diet, your nutrition, your training, your lifestyle, if you have a wobble, because we all have wobbles whenever we do set any sort of transformation or whatever, and we all have times we fall off the wagon, so to speak. It's how good your systems are, which will enable you to get back on as fast as possible. An example of this is if we ever do, or if you've ever done any restrictive type diet, like one of these sort of rapid weight loss diets or 6-week shred plans or anything else, you'll notice that it's very, very intense, and it's all geared on like restrictive food, not able to eat this, loads of exercise, etc., to get the weight off as fast as possible. It's a goal-driven approach. There's no systems to support that. So you can't re-implement the system once you've fallen off the wagon, because everyone's passed you by and has run off. And then if you fall off the wagon within those 4 weeks, it's very difficult to get back on again, because the diet is so restrictive and because the exercise plan is so intense. You find it hard to motivate yourself to get back onto that. And that's a prime example of where you haven't built the systems. Whereas if I'm working with a client, for example, I'll be teaching them how to calculate their food, how to calculate their weight loss calories, how to implement their macros, how to construct their training plan, how to recover after a bad workout, all those things, so that when those things happen and they have to recalculate and have to rework things out, it's very easy for them to do because they've built the systems. Imagine if you got onto a bike and you had no knowledge of riding that bike, you would probably get so far on it before you fell off, but you wouldn't be able to get started again without help. Whereas if you'd learned how to ride the bike, very easy to get back on if you fall off again. So that's the analogy. So make sure when you're looking at the thing you're trying to do, have you constructed it from a systems-based approach, as in building good systems to make sure you keep on having success? Or are you just going for a goal approach, as no holds barred, I want to get that weight off at all means, or I want to build muscle at all means, whatever. Have you built the right system to support your end goal? If you haven't, you're probably going to fail on your transformation or your New Year's resolution or whatever you're trying to do. So make sure you've got systems in place to support your goal. That's number one. The second problem I find with people is that their goals are not smart. So if we're looking at, say, go back to number one, like a weight loss goal, I want to lose 50 kilos in 3 weeks. That's probably not going to happen unless you're massively obese. And even then, I've worked with clients who've lost 30 to 40 kilos in 6 months. That is a big change for them. They've lost a lot of body fat, but to make sure that this goal that you set yourself is achievable, we want to have SMART targets. And if you don't know what SMART targets are, that's specific, measured, achievable, realistic, and timed. Or time managed, I think the thing there. So specific is, I want to lose 20 kilos. Okay, so that's a specific goal that you want to. Now, I'm not a big fan of setting weight loss goals, but that's an example of a specific. And you may even think about, I want to lose specific in, a certain amount of time, but that would be the timed element. So specific, I want to lose 20 kilos of body fat. That's specific. Or I want to get into my shirt that I want to wear for my New Year's Eve party. That's specific. That's one of my previous clients' goals. Measured, so how are we going to measure that? So we would measure it by getting on the scales. We would measure it by fitting into the clothes. So make sure you can measure the goal that you've set yourself. If you can't measure it, how do you know if you're progressing? How do you know if you're doing well? You've got to measure that and measure if you're doing well or not so well, so you can adjust what you're doing. Then we have achievable. Is it something you can actually achieve? I want to climb Mount Everest. No way am I going to be climbing Mount Everest. I might set out all the other goals, specific, realistic, timed, whatever. There's no way I'm going to be able to climb Mount Everest. I just haven't got it in me to get up that mountain. I know I haven't got it in me to get up that mountain. There's things I can do. Climbing Mount Everest is probably not one of them. And I know people might be watching this going, you should believe in yourself. I know that I would not like to climb Mount Everest. I don't like cold, I don't like climbing, and I don't like a lot of walking. So there's no way I would really enjoy doing that. Although I probably could if someone held a gun to my head, but it's not something I want to do. So achievable for me that's not going to happen. Is the goal you've set yourself achievable for you? If you want to get to 5% body fat, are you actually going to get there? Because you're probably going to have to cut out a lot of things that you like doing, like eating popcorn or cake or chocolate, whatever. And with the best will in the world and the best diet in the world, I know, because I've been at that level of body fat, you can't really have too many snacks. You have to be really strict on your diet. Is that something you want to achieve? Do you really want to be in that situation? Is it achievable for you? So if it's not achievable, then don't do it. Think of something else that's achievable and get there. Realistic, is it realistic? Again, climbing Mount Everest is probably a realistic goal for me, but it's not something I really want to do. And for me, okay, let's say I want to slam dunk a basketball from the floor. Well, that's 10 whatever feet up in the air. I'm 5'4". Unlikely that that's going to happen. I could put all the other things in place. Realistic, there's no way I'm going to jump from the floor and slam dunk a basketball. So I'm never going to achieve that goal. So I'm always going to be thwarted. So make sure it's realistic. Is it something that you can really see yourself doing? Is it something that the laws of the universe will allow you to do? If it's not, or, that's a bit excessive, the laws of the universe, but you know what I mean. If things are going to conspire against you, to such an extent that you're not going to be able to accomplish that and you're going to be thwarted and frustrated, pick something else. Pick a goal that's less challenging perhaps to start with and move upwards. And a lot of people, they don't have realistic goals with weight loss. What they said, I'm going to lose 20 kilos or 30 kilos in a month. That's not realistic. There's no way you're going to do that in a month unless you're, one, massively obese, and two, don't like eating a lot of food. It's not going to happen. Realistic would be, I'm going to do it over 6 months or whatever. 30 kilos over 6 months, what one of my clients did, kept it off for the long term. And it was a realistic goal. We set ourselves and we had the chat. We said, look, this is going to be a 6 month thing. That's the realistic goal. He's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. And we did it. It was realistic. We got it done. And then timed, put a time limit on it, or put a time that you want to achieve something by it, because we never say to ourselves, I'm never going to get that fat off. We always say to ourselves, I'm going to start my diet tomorrow, or I'm going to write that book tomorrow. I'm going to write that book next year. You never say to yourself, I'm not going to write that book. This is something that comes from my business thing, because a lot of people on my business course didn't ever write their business book, which is what they were supposed to do, and they didn't. They was sort of made excuses as to why they were going to start it tomorrow. So we always make excuses that we're going to start things tomorrow. If you have a timed objective which is measured and is realistic and is achievable, then you can actually measure if you're getting towards that goal or not, and you can keep yourself accountable. So it has to be timed. So when I work with clients, I always say to them, well, what's the time scale here? What's something we can use to measure it? Do you have a party to go to? Do you have a holiday to go to? Because when you can see the goal coming up, you're more motivated to get to it. If it's just open-ended, then you're never going to hit that. And this can be used for step-by-step goals as well. So when I'm talking to someone who wants to lose like 50 kilos or something, or wants to gain however much kilos of muscle, so well, that's a lot of muscle to gain. How about we set a more realistic target of, say, 2 kilos in 6 months, and then it's 4 kilos, and then it's 6, rather than 10 kilos of muscle, in whatever 3-4 years. That's a realistic time scale, because muscle doesn't come on that fast. But 2 or 3 years, that's a long time for a goal to keep it relevant in your head. There's a lot of time to go off the planet there. So we would say, well, let's see what we can get in 4 months. So what can we realistically and achievably do in 4 months? So make sure the goals that you set yourself, which is going to be supported by the systems, are smart, things that you can actually see yourself doing, because most people don't do that. They just go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they don't have any idea of how they're going to accomplish that, and that's why they fail. So number 3 is that people look for a rapid course change as opposed to a gradual 1% shift. Now, the way I analogize this is, if you set a plane on a direction which is 1% off its course, you won't really see the difference in terms of the first couple of miles, but after, say, 100 to 200 miles, the aeroplane has gone right off course. And this is the best way that we can transform our lives, because you're not going to encounter a lot of friction. If you are trying to divert your course very, very fast, you will encounter friction and resistance and all these things that are pushing you back towards your life that you were leading before. And imagine yourself trying to cross a river. If you went straight across at a 90-degree angle with a fast flowing river, you're going to get pushed off course. You're going to get pushed back to where you don't want to be. If you were crossing that river with the tide, gradually moving forward as we were going, it'd take you longer to get to the other side, but we'd be moving with the tide and we get there relatively unscathed, crocodiles and everything else permitting. But if we are trying to go against the flow of our lifestyle, of our environment, and all those other things really, really quickly, we are probably going to fail, because it's too much for us to handle. It's too much change too soon. We want to be thinking about the 1% change. So when you're thinking about weight loss, don't think about, I want to lose 20 kilos in, whatever, a week or whatever. It's, I want to lose 2 pounds in a week. Then we're gradually shifting. And how do we lose that 2 pounds? Well, we reduce our calories by 500 calories per day. And that will give us a 2 pound weight loss of body fat within a week to 10 days or so. provided you're consistent with all the other things. It's a bit, more complex than that, but you get the idea. If we're setting ourselves these small little goals and these small little things to accomplish, we're more likely going to achieve that, and we're going to be moving in the right direction. I call it votes for a leaner lifestyle, or votes for the lifestyle you want to lead. The more votes you cast for the person or the life or whatever you want to be, the more you'll move in that direction. If you just try and cast one vote, right, I'm going to go on a diet and not eat any carbs, and try and go against your lifestyle, which is a carb social life, friends coming over, that sort of thing, you're probably not going to achieve that. So we want to cast small votes which add up to the big picture right at the end. And this is, I suppose, another analogy is the tortoise versus the hare. The hare went very, very fast and then burnt out towards the end and had a little nap and was overtaken by the tortoise at the end, who was so slowly and methodically moving its way through the race to get to the end, and it won because it was consistent. It did things very slowly and very concisely, very precisely to get there, whereas the hare just went hammer and tongs and had a sleep at the end and actually missed the end. So lots of analogies there. I hope you can pick up on one of them to see why it's a good idea not to try and change your life too soon, too quickly. It hardly ever works. If you look at, say, programs like The Biggest Loser, they all lost loads and loads of weight really quickly, and they all pretty much put it back on again because it was such a drastic shift in their life. They weren't prepared for it. They couldn't continue it past the program. So just have a think about that. Make sure things are very slow, and okay, it's going to take a longer time to get there, but it's unlikely if you take a longer to get there, because you then be building the systems to get there and you'll be supported by those systems. It's unlikely you're going to go back again. One of my clients, the guy who lost 30 to 40 kilos, he looked back on his life, we were having a reflection when we finished working together, and he said, I can't see myself in that lifestyle I was before, because he cast so many votes towards where he wanted to be. He couldn't see himself living the life he did before. Whereas if he'd gone very quickly in the opposite direction, he would have still been thinking about his previous life, and that drag factor would have been stronger. Because we shifted the dial very, very slowly to move towards where he wanted to be, he was it was very easy for him to do that, and he didn't look back. He didn't feel as though he was missing out. And when he got to the end, when he got to where he wanted to be, he was looking back and said, I just can't believe I would have done those things, because it's a different life. He's transformed his lifestyle, transformed the way he's thinking, but it only happens with small, gradual movements in 99% of people. There's going to be someone out there who watches this video and goes, oh, I did it in 2 minutes or whatever. Yeah, okay, well done for you. You're in the minority. Excellent, you transformed yourself. That's not the majority of people. It doesn't work like that. Okay, and the last point is that your environment is not right. This ties in with all the other things, but one of the big things I talk about when I'm talking with clients is their environment. Now, I have a test you can take to measure your environment. It's called the Diet Ecosystem. It's free to take. Just go onto my website and you can find the links there for it. And basically, your environment is made up of 3 factors. You've got your social environment, your work environment, and your family environment. So I call them influence. So it fits in with my diet ecosystem, and it's all the areas that influence your lifestyle. So at one point in our lives, we are at either work or with our family, or with our friends and our social life. And those are the environments that influence us. Now, if your environment is geared towards your previous habits, your previous lifestyle, they are going to be pulling you back. And it's the same, this 1% change thing again. If you are still going to the pub every single night with your mates, it's highly likely you're going to have that goal of giving up alcohol, find that really hard to accomplish. Or if you don't drink and you just maybe want to stop eating peanuts or whatever, you go into the pub where there's peanuts available all the time, those sort of things. It's going to be very difficult for you to accomplish. Now, you've got to think about your environment and how it influences your behavior. I had one client, well, a couple of clients actually, who's at their work, they have desks with loads and loads of cakes and stuff all laid out there. That's not helping their environment for weight loss. So we had to think about how to adapt to their environment. We couldn't change their job. So what we did is we changed what they brought to their work, so they had food on the desk in front of them, so that they had that to snack on rather than looking at those things. So look at your environment, look at your family environment. Is your family supportive of the goals you want to achieve? Are you getting flack for going out to the gym if you want to train? Are you getting flack for eating healthily and they're all eating takeaway foods? All these things. Look at your environment. How is your environment helping you or hindering you towards your goal? And if you can slightly adapt or adjust your environment, to make sure that it's productive and it's helpful and supportive, then you're much more likely to get the results you want. We are the product of our environment. Although we're all born without influences and everything else, our environment shapes us, and if you're going to stay in the same environment and try and change your life, it's going to be very, very difficult. So one of the analogy I like to look at here is that when the soldiers went over to Vietnam from America, a lot of them came back addicted to opium, because that was the culture, that was the environment over there. Now, interestingly, when these soldiers came back, the ones that went into the sort of the working class slum type environments that they'd come from, they continued their drug habit and didn't kick it. The ones who came back and went into the sort of the upper working class or the middle class environments where having drugs and stuff around all the time wasn't really a thing, they managed to kick the habit quite easily because their environment didn't dictate that they were taking opium all the time, whereas, or if it's heroin, I think it was, and then, but the people who are in the working class environments, they actually continued their drug habits because the environment was supportive of that. When they were in Vietnam, the environment was drug fueled. When they came back, it split into two, and the ones who were in the drug environment, they kept on with the drugs, the ones that didn't, as a rule, didn't continue with the drugs. And this is a real example of the environment dictating the behavior. If you can remove the environment, remove yourself from the environment, you can change your behavior quite quickly. If the environment's still there, you potentially not going to change your behavior. So have a think about that. Is your environment supportive of your outcome? And if it's something to do with weight loss or training, take my diet ecosystem test. That will help you determine if your environment is helpful or hindering you. That's a free test with some free reports and emails to help you out with that. So I hope this was a helpful video, gave you some new ideas. These are the four things I see in most people, either all four or a combination of the factors. And once you can look at it and go, all right, that's what's wrong, that's why it's not worked before. Once you can change that, you're going to get better results. I guarantee you're going to get better results. But you've got to look at those things. Have you got all those things set up? Have you got systems to support your goals? Are your goals smart goals? Have you decided to do it with a rapid shift or as a gradual movement towards the goal? And is your environment supportive of the goal that you want to set yourself? Now, if all those things are in line, you're going to flow very quickly towards that goal. If any of them are misaligned, you're going to have real difficulty. And if they're all opposed to you, you're never going to achieve that. And that's the problem, unfortunately, that most people have, is that they never achieve their goals, they never achieve their lifestyle change because all those four factors work against them. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you can use this to get some benefit for your New Year's resolutions and get some ideas about how to change your life for the better. That's why I do these videos, is to help people, hopefully change people's lives for the better. If you got something from this, please let me know. I like to know that my videos are helpful, and share around if you think someone else could benefit from it. That's all for now, and I'll see you next time.